Hey everybody, this is Naaman again with NG Production Films, and today I'm going to show you how to update your Canon C200 firmware. But before we do anything, go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn a lot more on future products. So I'm going to briefly give you a quick little disclaimer. Canon put on their website and also on the PDF, it says, please be careful when you do it. So I take no liability on this, but be careful that you follow the steps properly because you could potentially damage your camera. So that all legal stuff is out of the way. And secondly, I want to remind you that once you go ahead and update your firmware, say goodbye to all the little fancy settings that you had on your camera. So please remember where you had everything stored at, or remember what you had, because you're going to have to reprogram everything, even down to the time. So let's go ahead and get this started. Quick thing, what you're going to need is your SD card. I prefer to use just a crappy one that we had. Don't use the one that you normally use for your camera. You probably could, but I just recommend using a crappy one. The reason why is one day I formatted it on a computer, and there goes our $300 Sony card. It just corrupted. So just to play safe, just use a little cheap one. All it's storing is like a little small file. Secondly, have your camera. Canon recommends that you put the battery in the camera, and then also the external power, just in case something happens. At least you have an extra power source on it. And that's pretty much it. So basically, step one, what you're going to do is grab your SD card. You're going to put it in camera slot A. So keep that in mind, camera slot A. Push down the little door. Power on your camera. And once it powers on here, you're basically going to initialize it just as if you would when you're on a production. So you're going to go to Menu, go down to Initialize Media, and then you're going to format SD card A. And then click Complete, and then OK. There you go. Press completed, or process completed successfully. Press OK. Canon also recommends that you turn off the camera, so that's what I'm doing. You're going to grab this SD card back out. So now it's all formatted. Pop it into your computer. There we go. And then I'm already on the Canon's website, and you guys can follow along here. So I'm on a Mac, so I went over to Firmware. I went to Canon Digital Cinema Camera C200 Firmware. This version is 1.0.4.100. So click it. Say that you read and agreed to everything. Download. There we go. Then from there, oops. I'm going to go to our download folder. There's a C200. I usually just drag it to the desktop. And then Canon says to uncompress it. And then now you're going to see these are your PDF in different languages. Basically, all you're going to need to do is grab the vnc4.fim file. And then it's very simple. Once you put the SD card in the computer, I've already downloaded this file. As you could see, it's called vnc4.fim. So I went over to Canon, and what they want you to do is grab this vnc4 and drag it into the root file of your Canon. So I didn't drop it into the DCIM folder, I just dropped it right here, as you could see. And then that's it. So go ahead and eject. You're going to pop out the SD card. All right, so this is what you're going to do here. You're going to grab this SD card now with the vnc4.fim file that's on the root. You're going to go into your B, not A. You originally started in A. You're going to go into the B slot of your Canon C200. You're going to pop it in, drop down the door, flip the camera back on to camera mode. All right, so now that the SD card is in the B slot of the camera, we're going to go to Menu, go over to the little gear slot, And then you're going to go over to number 6 and go down to firmware. Click on firmware. You're going to see right now we're on 1.0.2.1.00 and we're upgrading to the 4. So once you have the actual VNC file on your actual SD card, the actual firmware is going to be highlighted. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on it, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to update the firmware from version this to version that? And this pretty much would, I'm sure, would work on any other firmware updates past this one as well. So you're just going to basically drag it over to OK, and then click on OK. And now it says updating in process. And that's it, guys. So once you update your camera, everything's going to reset back to factory settings. So the tedious process is go back in. We like doing double slot record and a whole bunch of other fancy stuff with magnifying and face detection and everything else. So that's the only thing that kind of sucks about it, is you have to go back and kind of just reprogram everything. But that's pretty much it. So now our cameras are updated to the firmware. We have extra little features now with the new firmware that they have released on this one. So please go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for joining us.